Femme. We've got another amazing guest for you.
Yes.
We love when people refer us guests, whether they're like, you need to reach out to this person because they're absolutely amazing and I love to see them on the show, or if they're like, I know this person and I want to connect you and get them on the show. Like, no matter how it happens, we love it. So thank you to our fam that has done that many times over the years. Today's guest was recommended by Mikhail Chowdhury, who is on the past season. So if you didn't listen to his episode, tune in last season. He's got a lot of awesome things to talk about. And he has sent us
a charming accent.
Yes.
And I'm like, I could listen to him all day. So if you guys haven't, you need to. It's
amazing.
Insightful. Yeah. And just
amazing episode
delight.
And just great dude. And has connected us with a few people now. So that's been really awesome. So thank you again, Mikhail. Today's guest is Danielle Beckmann with 2 N's, guys, when you're looking her up. She does everything. She is an actress, a filmmaker, a producer, and a creative coach. And today we're talking about several of her projects, but mostly her short film, Liza Anonymous, which I watched last night. It's fantastic. It's not really out to the public yet, but when it is, we will tell you guys because y'all gotta watch it. Super fun. But like I said, she does a million things. She's got several projects in the works right now. She also runs a role-playing show with her production company, Brooklyn Quarter. And the show is called Novel Chronicles. Her and her husband run basically a DM campaign, like episodic. Pretty cool. She also, like I said, is a creative coach, which is awesome. If you guys... Whether you're an actor, a filmmaker, whatever you do, if you are a creative that needs some career coaching in your life, check it out. All these links are going to be in the show notes. But we had an amazing time chatting with her today. She's also just an amazing human being.
The synergy is there. She's like, we're blessed to feel that way a lot with like a lot of our guests. Like we're just on the same wavelength and page. But then you just have those guests where you just instantly click, and you guys, I'm sure, are going to be delighted. We love that she has her hats on in so many different ways, and I'm just so excited to continue to follow along, and I hope you guys do too. So enjoy.
Everyone in New York or LA is a storyteller. Like everyone, like I don't know. I had a friend who was a chef in New York City, and like his work was literally like to tell a story through food. I'm like, we're all just artistic, creative in some way.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So, and of course, moving, I moved during the pandemic. In 2020, I got married in the pandemic and moved cross country. So it was a big year. And, but that was something I was scared of, right? Being like, oh no, I'm moving to a new city. It's going to be isolating and whatnot. And actually it's turned out to be the best decision for my life and career moving out here. So
I love that.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah. And this ad brought to you by Los Angeles, California Board of Tourism. No, just kidding. It sounds like it though.
Yeah. But for real though, I mean, it's one of those things that it's like you can be an actor and or a filmmaker anywhere, especially now that everything is so like digital, remote, like as long as you have the people to work with to create, you can do it absolutely anywhere. But, there's something to be said about being in a hub for it. Like, for instance, like, I've talked about moving out of LA at some point, but like, I'm so glad that I'm doing it. Carolina
she knows how I feel.
But I'm so glad that I came here first, because regardless of what happens, I've built the connections here. I've built my career here. I've, like all of that carries on to wherever you are. So definitely something to be said about at some point being in one of the major hubs,
Yes. Well, and it's funny but if you were to like put me in Chicago, I'd be like, I have no idea what to do. Well, I mean, I guess there's like Second City and Steppenwolf and there's that there are
theater, there's art
right.
and stuff, but it's just like here, like in New York, it was for me, I started my musical theater journey there, and here I like didn't didn't think I would end up here. Didn't think I'd be doing film, let alone being a producer. Like, what?
Isn't it wild?
It's so wild.
I did musical theater too. I had a similar thing. And so absolutely. Well, like, no. And it's shocking, right? Because then you're like, wait, how? I'm like, I'm producing movies with a budget of over 3 numbers. Like sometimes they have 5 or 6 numbers, or 7 numbers. Yeah, like how is this what I'm doing when I grew up like either a musical theater kid or whatever.
It's wild. But I just feel like you gotta just keep following what you love. And I just realized my heart wasn't in musical theater. I love singing, acting, and dancing, and that's why I chose it.
Okay.
I'm like I love doing all of that, but the medium wasn't the right fit for me, and the life I wanted wasn't the right fit. I like this crazy life of a film producer and filmmaker versus going abroad on cruise ships and whatever. I was just like, if I was the chorus girl in Oklahoma, I'd want to kill myself. So like, I don't love it that much, and I'm not. No, I get it. Well.
Did you do all the open calls and stuff, like the early morning open calls? Because that was my life for like 5 years in New York. Yeah,
it was my life for a couple months, and I said no, thank you.
It's so bizarre, like this culture of like everyone in their curlers showing up at 5 a.m. to sign in or wait outside on the non-equity list or whatever, just to be seen maybe. And it's exhausting, but people get up and do it. And I saw a lot of my friends really succeed on that path. And I was like, oh, they want that. I'm like, I know I want to act. I want to be in the industry. I'm now getting into more writing and directing. So like, I understand that like, those are things I want, but I don't want it in that way. And that's okay because there are many people to fill those slots, and I will happily buy that ticket to go watch. Having said that, though, theater is still my first love. Like you just,
there's nothing like being on the stage and having that in the moment visceral reaction between your partner, the audience. It's magic. It's magical.
It's the absolute best. And I was lucky to do it in New York for a long time. For all 13 years I was doing theater, but I wasn't, but I did everything in New York. I didn't do any regional, and I didn't do any tours. I said, I want to only stay.
See, I would be the same kind of bitch.
Yeah,
I'd be snobby about it. I'd be like, no, thank you. You cannot pay me to go on this tour bus like right now.
Nope.
No, thank you. Nope. And like, I have such incredible respect for those artists.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Well, and it's like, it's that thing where their love and passion for it is there, and it's seen and it's known. And I look at it and I go, oh, I'm so glad you have that. I don't. Mine is somewhere else. And that's so A-okay. Like it's so okay. And it's like, there can be room for all types of artists. Even though we constantly get told that there's not, or we constantly get rejected or whatever, but I believe there's room. So
well, there has to be, because it's also, you can't be doing something that you don't love in this profession. Like if you have a day job you don't love, okay, well, you're doing it to survive, but like, you're not going to pursue a career in whatever aspect it is unless you really love it, because it is all consuming.
Yes.
So, and there's got to be different people to do the different sides of it.
Yep. Yeah.
So what gave you the film bug, and what role did you start out in? I'm so curious.
Yeah. I love that you say film bug because I verbatim say to people, after making my first film, the film bug bit me. And I'm like, dang it. Like, I can't shake it. I cannot shake it. I am fully infected. And I'm like, well, gosh, dang. No. So let's see. Okay. It was November 2018. So, before the pandemic, and one of my dear friends, her name's Leah McKendrick. She's a screenwriter here in LA. She's also a brilliant actress. And she and I were actually hanging out in New York City, and she's like, how's it going? How's your career going? She calls me Danny. Danny, how's your career going? And I was like, I'm in every reading known to man. I am developing every character. And then after that, nothing happens, So like, I knew at that point, I was like, I have playwrights writing things for me. I have people wanting to collaborate. Like I have this lovely synergy going, but then things never go to the next level where I can make my rent with it. Right. And I was like, man, I've been in New York so long and I feel like I'm hitting a wall. And I was like, maybe I need to switch up mediums. Maybe theater right now isn't the thing. And she was like, well, look, let me write you something pro bono. And I was like, oh, cool. We use words like pro bono now. And she, at that time, her feature film was just bought by Sony. And that was like her first big sell she did. So she was like, she was like, I have some time on my hands. Like, I want to write you a short. And I was like, okay, like, let's do this. And we went to college together. So we had explored many different, wacky characters and been through our ups and downs and all this stuff together. So she knew my acting really well. So she kind of pitched me a couple ideas. And at the time I was dungeon mastering. So my husband and I have our channels called Brooklyn Quarter. And one of our shows is a Dungeons and Dragons show. So it's improvised storytelling, acting, all that. A lot of fun. I don't know if you guys have played. Tessa, you're nodding your head. Have you played?
I haven't personally played, but I have a ton of friends who do. And like, I've created a character. Nobody wants somebody that can just pop in and not like commit to a campaign. So I haven't actually played, but I'm very familiar with it.
I get it. Well, the lingo, you said campaign. So
yeah.
I'm like, she knows. Okay. Well, anyway, so as a dungeon master, I had an all-female identifying cast. The show was called Maven Brave. We did 40 episodes. This was like a few years ago. And as a dungeon master, you play a bunch of different characters, right? And so I told Leah at the time, I was like, I like to just have fun, be silly, and play a bunch of different characters. And she was like, okay, I have this idea. So she went away and wrote it. And the beginning of 2019, she sent me the script and I was like, dang, this is going to be really challenging and really amazing. And the script was called Liza Anonymous. And it's about this lonely millennial named Liza, and she becomes addicted to support groups. And she creates a different persona to fit into each support group. And her charade just ends up crumbling, and she's forced to get to the root of her unique addiction she has and find her true identity, and kind of finds a place of her own. So it's a concept short for a feature, but it's also can stand on its own, and it's a story about, isolation and loneliness and all these things, but it's also funny. Yeah. And so I was like, great. And then we made it for about 25,000. I raised the money. And that was the thing. That was the condition. Leah gave me the script. She goes, I'm wiping my hands of this. You got to go make it now. Like, I don't blame her. Yeah. She's like, I can't produce this, but it's yours. Yeah. And then, And so then we made it in November 2019, just, scraping by right before COVID hit. And we did the whole shoot in 2 days, which almost dang near killed us. Should have been 3. Should have been a 3-day shoot.
It's isn't that how it always is?
It always
is. Like, if I could have that extra day,
I know.
Could have been a lot.
Sometimes even just that extra couple hours, and you're like, no, that puts people into overtime or whatever. Yeah.
Yes. Well, we did 2 13-hour days basically. And so we shot it and I starred in it and got to, EP it, but then also did so many of the logistics of it. And that was like one of the most joyous sets I'd been on. And I realized it was because I had power, like in that moment, to create from the top down what I wanted this set to be. And from the beginning, I had the intention. I was like, I want this to be peaceful, joyful, fun. And I want everyone to like work together and like feel valued. And so that's kind of how I set the tone. And I let all my producers and director and my DPA let everyone know. I was like, this is the tone. If you go outside the tone, you're not in the tone. Yeah. Like if you get sassy, you gotta go take a breather and come back. Yeah. but
love
it ended up
it.
being, and then I literally had like the costume designer texted me 2 days after. She was just like, wow, Danielle, I'm still thinking about that shoot. And she literally verbatim said, that was the most peaceful set I've ever been on. And I was like, wow, like that's exactly what I wanted.
And it makes a huge difference. Like, because you remember the sets that are either the best or the worst that you were done, right?
Yes.
And you definitely want to work with those people again. Like, it's actually sad when you wrap when it's a really good set, because that's more rare, unfortunately.
I know. Well, and also obviously like the bigger the production, the more people involved, like the less control you have. So, but I will say for Liza, we had over the 2 days, we had 65 people on set because we had a lot of background actors as well. So there were 65, about 65.
Big.
Yeah, it was big. It was really big. We had,
Where were you shooting this?
We shot this. So this is when I lived in New York. We shot it in Astoria, Queens. We shot it in a Korean church, and the basement had like all these different rooms with like brightly colored walls. And so each room was a different support group. And then in this ending scene, it even had like a theater for the end scene, which I won't give away, but one location.
Wow.
Easy.
I was going to say smart producing right there.
Yep, there it is.
There
it is. Smart producing. But I will say our big feat was we had a circle dolly track, and we had to tear that down and set it back up 5 times in 2 days. And that was, I will hopefully never have to do again, but that was intense. But you know, it got us like the money.
You got the shot.
Yeah, we needed it. Yeah. So then anyway, oh yeah, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say it adds to it too, because it's like I watched it last night. So like in like a setting, again, I don't want to give too much away, but like in a setting, you know, where people are sitting around in a circle, like any addicts meeting, it's like, how can you do something that's unique? And like the money shot, like you said, like something that really adds to like the cinematic value of it. So things like that, they make a big difference. And sometimes you don't even really like consciously notice it as the viewer, but it does it takes it to the next level, you know?
Right. Well, and I think that that's something that's so interesting that you said, Tessa, because as a, you know, lover of film and television before I even was making movies, I wouldn't so much notice the camera movement or notice something, but I would know how it made me feel. And then now being a filmmaker, going back and watching something, being like, that shot was like that. And that's why it made me feel creeped out, or that's why it made me feel close to the subject, or that's why it made me feel isolated because of what they chose. And so it's almost like hiding those choices, but allowing them to flow is like a really difficult thing.
Yeah.
But I was so glad that our director and DP did it. Like they both women, by the way. Hey. And they took the risk and did it. And so then after that, we wrapped and we sat on the film for basically all of 2020, because what were you going to do? You know? So I was like, oh, we're keeping this close to the chest. Like we're not putting Liza out there at all. Yeah. So, and after that, I was kind of like, you know, it's funny. I knew the bug had bit me. Right. But then I was like, you know, I don't know. I'm just going to, you know, when the pandemic's over, I'm just going to keep auditioning, and I'll just book something and I'll do that. Like, I don't know if I need to make another movie, you know? Well, then lo and behold, the film got into Tribeca, and I was like, oh no, like now we're in like one of the biggest festivals. And so now I'm like, wait, I want this again. Right. So it's like, I want it. I'm like, now I'm addicted. You have me. Okay. I get it. And so, and we got to premiere last year at Tribeca, and it was outdoors. So it was, our screening was to a sold out 600 person outdoor screening on a giant LED screen down by the Statue of Liberty.
How cool.
In Battery Park.
Battery Park.
Yes, it was amazing. So they had the Battery Park one. They had screens up all throughout Manhattan. And so there was one, like another one by South Street Seaport. There was one by Hudson Yards on 34th, like all these beautiful locations, all outdoors. They they really did it well. Like they did it so well, and everyone felt safe the entire time. And, it was just such an amazing experience. And so from that and seeing that and actually watching the audience reaction to that I was like, that's all I need. Like if you felt that, if it made you, laugh, if it made you want to see more, if it made you understand someone in isolation and you related to them, like that's all we wanted, And so, and actually from that, one of the filmmakers in our lineup, Lynn Q, she had a film called Cracked that was in that lineup. Their short is on HBO now, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. It was her
shoot.
thesis film for NYU grad school. Spike Lee was a producer on it. And I think it was
Okay.
right after it was right after Liza in the lineup. That team from Cracked actually was shooting a short in August of that year. And they saw me in Liza, because I have like a couple different accents and dialects in the thing. They saw me and they were like, oh, she can like play this like girl from the Bronx. Okay. Like we have a part for her. And so they like emailed me. They're like, Danielle, we want you for this role. And I was like, great. It's in Connecticut. I live in LA. They're like, we'll fly you out. I'm like, okay, cool.
Amazing.
Oh my God.
It really, right. So when we create these things as multi-hyphenates, we do it to get more opportunities and more work. So already right away, Liza was doing its job of creating more opportunities and projects for me. And I was so grateful. So I shot that in August. And then this year, actually in 1 month, I'm filming a short called Tiki Bar Funeral Home. I'm the lead, and the producer, director, writer, she saw Liza and we met at a Filmmaker thing. And she was like, I kind of started tweaking my script for you, like to play the lead. Do you want to read it? And I was like, cool. So it's like, I'm like, if people are getting inspired, but by what I've put out there, like it's the right path. We're going in the right way. So then, oh gosh, now I have all that to say, I have 6 projects in development right now. So
wow.
Yep, at all different stages. I have a feature. I have 2 short. No, well, I have a feature and like 5 shorts, 2 of which I'm directing, 3 of which I'm writing, and 2 I'm starring in and producing. So
wow. That's a lot, but that's amazing. Like, that's so exciting.
It's pretty wild.
No, like just to have all, I mean, I think it could, to someone that'd be like, that's insane or whatever, but projects do happen at different phases and times. And so I think it sounds like you're pretty good at knowing which hat to put on and figuring that kind of journey out, but you love it all.
Yes. It. Well, and I'd love to know, I mean, I want to know about you ladies, like what are your preferred hats? Because I'm still trying to figure out what my preferred hats. Right now, my 2 top hats, are acting, and directing is actually getting up there. So I'm kind of trying to prioritize that. But like, what about for you guys? I'd love to know.
Well, I mean, I know for us, like we both started out as actors. We got together as actors to create stuff for us to be acting in. And it's been since 2018 is when we first started, right? So we're still kind of figuring it out. It's only been a few years, and, every project takes a little time. So it's like, we're doing something on this project, and then this project is the first time we're doing this. And so we're still figuring it out. I'll let Carolina say in a moment, because she's into a lot more things than I am. Personally, I figured out all the things that I don't like from it,
Great. No, that's
which is
really important.
Just as important.
So important.
Yeah. So I know acting is definitely my number one. That's the thing.
Great.
That's the only thing that I want to pursue separate from Femme Regard as well. But I do love that we create our own content. So I do love to produce our content. I wouldn't want to be hired as an independent producer on somebody else's project.
Yeah.
But I love making our stuff, So yeah.
And
totally.
For me, I have learned, I've got into associate produced, what's it called? Project manager, UPM, sorry, unit production manager on a project. I've gone in I edit on other like content creation stuff, but I think for me, my goal, especially with just my heart being with Femme Regard too, is continuing this producing. Right, I've written our projects, and I'm stepping into like this for our first feature film, the director role, like
that is
on
so
a larger
exciting.
Sad, and I'm really excited. I am a little nervous because I'm acting as well, and I always am like, okay, can I do this? But I think I just not like need to psych myself out as much.
All you need is when you're acting, you need that person who can give you the thumbs up on the other end, you know?
That's like so nice to hear, because that's like what I want. I just want to find that right one person to be the supporter, the associate director in a sense, and just like and just be on it. And I think we can just roll because that character is like me in a nutshell. Like I wrote it so
you
that
have
way
to play it.
I have to play it. Tessa, like we just love it because it's like a lot of our personalities are infused in these characters, and I want like our podcast listeners to be like, yeah, that's a very Tessa Carolina dynamic that's happening here, just on like the extremes.
Yeah, perfect.
You know?
Yes. Well, that's what we want, right? We want to see that.
Hey, fam, have you heard us raving about Jambox yet? Because let me tell you, it's such an amazing tool for filmmakers, podcasters, advertisers, and anyone who needs music for their projects.
Jambox.io is so versatile. They've got songs and sound effects, organized by artist, genre, mood, and tags.
And they're actually affordable. For as little as $9.99 a month for independent creators, $6 a month for students, or $19.99 a song, you can choose whether a subscription-based membership or a la carte pricing works better for you. And they're flexible. For individual creators, to commercial, to advertising, to theatrical release, they've got you covered.
Plus, they're constantly growing and evolving, with new songs and playlists all the time and customer service on point. They really do have everything you need.
We've been working with them for a while now and couldn't be happier. That's why we have a special coupon code for our listeners.
For 10% off your purchase, make sure you enter code FEMME10 at checkout. That's Femme, F-E-M-M-E 10 at jambox.io, where they connect creators with ridiculously good music and sound effects.
I think that that's something too, like within creating projects, like, you know, people and, you know, executives and producers, they want to know like, what is this like? What is this like that I've seen, you know? And, I remember, so I did some judging for the Austin Film Festival this year, because Liza Anonymous was at Austin last year. And then this year they were like, we need people to judge and screen some of the films. And so I've been doing it virtually. And one of the questions that they ask on the form, you know, if this is a story, like a similar to a story that's already out there or a theme that's already out there, is it a fresh take on it? Like, what about this voice of this filmmaker is new and different? Because, you know, at the end of the day, I think that's something that deterred me from writing, is I was like, well, I'm not going to write anything new. Like, every story's been told. And then of course that's the lie in your head. It's like, no, stop it. I will say this differently than anyone else because I'm me. If I dig deep and go to that truthful part of myself, you know, instead of trying to regurgitate what someone else is doing. So, so in that vein, I think it is so important to go, oh yeah, well, this film I've written is like, you know, a mix of The Devil Wears Prada and blah, 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 you know, like getting people to say like, oh, okay, so the lead character must be like this, this, and this. Now I understand a little bit. And then not being afraid of that. That was my little soapbox tangent moment.
No, that makes sense.
True. I mean, we've kind of had to like fight for that in some pitch rooms when we were told that our story was so been there, done that. And we're like, no, I don't think so, sir.
No, especially if you read, and if people read you, like if you get people to read you and read the script, that's when it can come alive, right? So it's like, you have
that's the thing. I'm like, I don't think you read our script. I'm sorry. Like, we could tell that someone didn't quite read our script versus some other feedback. We're like, okay, like we can work with this.
But it's also like that response has been good feedback for us on how we're pitching it. You know, like, how is this coming across? Because then other people that have been super excited for us and for the story have been like, oh, it's kind of like this movie. And then I'm like, wait, no, it's not. That's how it's coming across to you. Okay, let me rethink how I'm talking about this then. Because, you know, I know that they didn't read the script. It's just a person I'm talking to about it. But I still have to be careful how I'm talking about it because, you know, I don't want them to think it's something it's not. So,
and like, what, oh my gosh, with log lines and summaries and stuff like that.
I still don't love our log line. It gives me anxiety literally every day.
So then maybe it's like you have to maybe changing like 1 or 2 words in it would help. You know, it might be just like a small tweak that helps, but yeah, it's true. It's really important. I'm trying to think of, there was something, I guess it was quite a while ago, but I had a script for something and I was pitching it and someone was like, no, Danielle, I've read it. That's not what that's about. And I was like, what? Okay, well, you tell me what you think it's about. And then I was like, wow, okay, that's it. You know, because sometimes we have sometimes we have blind spots and we know we're so close to the material. And then we're like, well, no, trust me, this is it. And it's like, wait, okay, maybe I can just pivot slightly and it can be more clear, you know, because I think that's, gosh, if there's anything that my theater professors hammered into me, it was that specifics will set you free. And the more, you know, specific in that and succinct in that story, in that summary or that log line, the more people will understand what you are trying to convey,
what you're trying to tell, the story you're trying to tell. And I think for us, it's like, it's explaining the whole like psychological thriller with the sci-fi setting. It's like, I feel like we need to explain the technology, but also like that isn't the heart. It's not just, we call it for now that there's so many new, again, this is such a timely story that there's more, like you said, shows that are out that we can relate to. But at the time we were like, it's Black Mirror meets Black Swan. Like, you know, we have this like, you know, it's kind of in your head at moments, dreamy, like these like kind of flashy backs. So you're like, what is reality? The protagonist is trying to figure it all out. And then, but it's being, you know, in this world of new tech that's just amplified and still relevant to like how social media is like, you know, getting into our heads and like, and how we can cyber stalk anyone pretty easily. So
seriously,
it's like, how do we, like, that's been the challenge, I think, is how do we convey? Because if I could, and I love Tessa brought it up once, if we could spell it out, it would be PSY-FI.
Do
We're
that.
gonna hashtag that.
Create your own genre.
Seriously,
do it. I mean, our main show on Brooklyn Quarter is called Novel Chronicles, and it's a tabletop web series. It's the one I was talking to you guys about, like the Dungeons and Dragons thing, and we call that alt fantasy. So it's, you know, it's an alternative fantasy. So it's, you know, basically Dungeons and Dragons is a rule set, so to speak. So it's basically just a rule set, you know, you roll dice, you whatever, but within that you can have so many different settings, so many different things. And you have like the properties that are of quote unquote Dungeons and Dragons and the books they have and whatever. But then you also have, what we call homebrew, which is where you create your whole own world. Right. And so that's what my husband is like, genius level. I mean, I just brag on him all the time because the world he has created is like so lush and interesting to live in and play in. It's like, It's absolutely amazing. And it doesn't have those cliche fantasy tropes.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have sexual violence in our world. We don't have slavery in our world. Like he's created this space that is like very like non-cliche to like live in and play in. And I absolutely love it. And so because of that, and because there's magic in the world, and that's kind of D&D in general, there's always magic,
right?
But because of that, normally in D&D, players pull their power from like the gods, and it's very like power fantasy, and like we're the most powerful adventurers in the world. And it's like, my husband Timothy was like, no, I'm gonna go the opposite direction. And so instead, there are no gods in our world. So we have these like planetoids that are like different energy sources that magic is pulled from. And so it's very much like this sci-fi a little bit, because the celestial bodies in space is kind of a big thing, and there are ships up there. But then it's also like this alt fantasy, like this alternative fantasy, like what if things could look a little different?
Okay,
so
that makes sense.
It's
of,
really
like, the alternative take to what the fantasy normally is,
right?
Which is
like
gods
what you think,
and the magic,
or like
and
there's
okay.
the elves are so beautiful and majestic, and the dwarves are like
the
short and they have beards. It's like sure, but yeah, and he's created different species in the world as well. My character on our main show, Novel Chronicles, is her. She's a squick, and she's 2'1", like a rodent-like creature, kind of. Her name's Greta. All squick only have one name. They don't have last names. They're very secretive. Don't ask them. Don't ask. Like they kind of have that New Jersey, Brooklyn thing.
Yeah.
But a really high-pitched voice, though. I won't do it now. But they're, and so she's like this 2'1" creature, and her traveling party, one of them's a human who's 5 foot, like they're all different and interesting, but it's not like, these tropes that are sort of hammered into the ground. It's like new and fresh. And so I think that with what you guys are doing, like sci-fi, I think that's so dope. Like that is so cool. Put that in a pitch deck.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I'm trying to put that, because I mean, Tessa and I go back and forth, and I'm still very adamant about still calling it a sci-fi film as well. Like I feel like it is the blending of both. It's
put
not,
that PS.
So it's like we need to put that in the two. I want it there to package it, because I think with the tech and how cool it, like we're showing it off, because tech is also really cool, right? It's still fucking awesome, but we have to also question the protections that are in place.
Oh, absolutely.
That's just where we're at. We're not anti, tech advancements at all. It's just, what are we doing to protect the human mind? And we're hoping to pair with organizations that care about it too. So
that's really, really cool.
Yeah. So you're loving the multiple hats. And I think that is just a journey. Like, I mean, 2018, I think, sounds like a year we both like really dived in. So
it was a big year.
Yeah. Big year. We're big on the number 8. That is, it's a money number.
Okay. See, I didn't know that. 8 has never been in my like wheelhouse of numbers. Yeah. But now I'm like into it. Okay.
I'm a Scorpio, so
it's
8. 8 was a magical time for me when I turned 8. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
No, just fun facts.
I love it.
And so I do think that is like a journey. Like I said, we're still on. I can see myself totally. I just like love doing a lot of things. So that's probably why the director stuff is calling me. I love producing, but acting, like Tessa, is like my number one joy. It's like where I feel most at home and free and fun. Like for me, it's just like, that's always just fun. Even if it's work,
there's something about that for anyone who has that spark of performing and being the vessel for storytelling in that way. Yeah. There's always something where it's like, I do all this stuff, but if I could just do one thing, it would be acting, I hear that from so many people. And I don't know, I always think of like the Broad City ladies and, I just think of like all these, like Issa Rae. Oh my God. I love her so much.
Trying to get
Me
on
too.
the pod. We're putting it on. We're putting it out there.
Yeah, well, and it's like they're all over here, you know, producing and writing and all this stuff, but then they're also like, "Hi, I'm an actor." Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and it's so fascinating. I would say out of all my friends in the industry, I have maybe like 2 or 3 friends that only act.
Mhm.
Like, you know,
That's
if you
it.
can imagine, like
Yeah.
that, like that's it. Like, and
Yeah.
and then it's like they literally just get pinned and get booked on, and they're on shows, you know, and it's like
Right.
that's all they do. But it's so rare anymore
It
that that's the
is.
case.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to see how, oh my gosh, I mean, I graduated college in 2008, and that was like the big financial crash and all this stuff.
Right.
It was horrible time to enter the job market. And headshots around when I got into college were just turning to color from black and white. So it
Mhm.
was like this thing of like, okay, oh, I have to get new color headshots. And then like, now I'm going to move to New York City and try to break in, but oh wait, everything is terrible. Like only people with money can go to restaurants. I have no money. I'm a struggling artist, you know?
Yeah.
And then, you know, here we come around again, and you know, in my early 30s, it's a pandemic, sorry, you gotta hold back just a little bit, you know.
Right.
And then like seeing the changes from 2008 when you were just an auditioning actor to now 2022 and going like, oh nope, sorry, like if you just audition like that, you are going to be in a pool that is so
Mhm.
big that you might end up drowning in. So like if you want to float to the top, try on this beret, try on this baseball cap, try on this top hat.
Right.
Like, sorry, you got to try some other stuff. So yeah.
I know. I feel fortunate enough that we pushed ourselves to explore these different roles and find other things that give us creative control when there's so
Yeah.
much that you don't have control of.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's definitely empowering and you know, has given us a platform to connect with more creatives and more, you know, especially in these times where you were locked down and couldn't go to auditions, you know, like what do you do? It's like we have these amazing, you know, a podcast that we're so grateful for, like so grateful to push and grow from. So
yeah,
I think
and I'm sure so
true.
many people a lot of people get value too from listening. So
we hope so.
Jinx. So I did a podcast called Funny People Talking back in New York City, and it was produced by Mouth Media Network. And my co-host, he went on to like work for some other fancy companies, and it kind of fizzled at the beginning of the pandemic, but I did 55 episodes, and we every episode, it was a comedy podcast. So it was all improv comedy. We'd have like reality stars on, actresses, actors, like comedians, whatever. But every episode before we got started on air, we would pray to the gods for Tina Fey to come on our show. And we would do like a Tina Fey, it is time, like a chant kind of thing. So yeah, she didn't come. So, not yet.
She didn't come yet.
She didn't come. Maybe she'll be in my feature film. We'll see. I don't know.
You
yet is the key word for all of it. We are still all going in this career. We still got plenty of time for all those things to happen.
Exactly.
I know. I feel like some things just happen to in like, surprising ways. Like maybe it isn't Tina Fey, but maybe it's like some showrunner or some, connection of some sort. You're like, oh, it all comes back to Miss Tina Fey.
Yeah.
Like it just, I feel like those are the patterns that you start to notice in life, but it takes you living life to recognize them. Yeah. Namaste, y'all.
Oh my gosh. Namaste, y'all. Well, that's actually something that I heard, an agent, it was a literary agent. There was a LA panel for the Austin Film Festival last month. and it was like for alumni and stuff. And I went, and there were some literary agents and managers. One of them was like with UTA, another was the Lit Group. Is that a place? Anyway, but one of them said that sometimes they'll read a script, they'll read a writer or whatever, and they'll be like, okay, cool, like the concept's good, but like you're a little green. Like, have you lived your life?
Yeah.
Like, do you have experiences to write about? And so that was like a big thing of advice they gave. They were like, we would like you to go live a full life and then come back to your art, or like go, like, travel the thing or volunteer or like put yourself in someone's shoes or go, work somewhere unexpected or, do something so that like when you write a script about, like Eat, Pray, Love, I believe that you have eaten, prayed, and loved all, all as Elizabeth Gilbert did, but yeah. And that was really good. They're like, we don't want you just to be a writer. We don't want you just to be an actor. Like, we want you to be a full human.
Yeah.
I think that is so, so important. And it's a testament, I think, to me as a performer. Like 10 years ago, the connection was so closeted to now where I'm at in my life, where it's like I've really opened up, experienced it, haven't been through it all. We're still on a journey, people. But I just feel like I can just tap in so quickly and easily. And I'm just this open sore wound. Like, let's just call it what it is. Like, just, but it's so fun.
But that's also like interesting to watch. Right. So.
Exactly.
And it's funny too, like as an actor, we all grew up doing theater, right? And especially in like community theater, for example, you have people that are 19 playing 55 because that's what you've got, right? Yeah. But like, as an actor, you're like, oh, but I can tap into that. I can pull that off. And it's fine in that setting. Obviously in a movie, you're not going to be cast that way, but you still think like, well, I can tap into anything. I'm an actor, right? And it's like, no, if you haven't had that life experience, not only, do you not look the part, but like just emotionally, like being able to show that, like gravitas is a word that I both love and hate, describing like quote unquote mature roles, right? That it's like, if I see something that says like 25 to 35, that's me. I'm 32 in real life. That's great. But I can also play like just out of college still sometimes. When I see something that's 30 to 40, I'm like, well, that's still me, but I'm probably not what they're looking for. I don't have that kind of gravitas, that they're looking for of like a mom of a teenager, for example, or whatever. So, yeah.
And it's really interesting too, how some people like age, I feel like numbers could just go away because then, you have like your late 20 somethings playing 17.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because they have the gravitas to play 17.
Yeah.
No, isn't that really interesting? And it's also like how you're perceived too. So it's like, I'm a few years older than you, but I also can play, I look younger. And so it's like, well, what do people perceive me as? Like, I don't know. I mean, I will say, dear God, high school. Yeah. I think it was 17 years old. I played, I was in Arsenic and Old Lace. I played Aunt Abby. She's a 70-year-old character. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know how to play this. Like, what the heck? Right. And so I was like, you know what? If I'm going to focus on one thing and like try to play a 70-year-old, I'm going to my character choice was like, I'm just going to slow down. Everything I do is going to be slow. Yeah. And this play was the moment I knew I wanted to major in theater and do it the rest of my life. Cause I'd been acting since I was like 3, but I'd been on stage, like dance, tap dance, Charleston, bop, step, right? Okay. We know.
Shuffle. Yeah.
We got a little shuffle off to Buffalo. And like, we know it. But like at that moment I was like, no, I can act because I made this one choice about the character. And I was like, she's just going to be slow. And she also hummed. She hummed a lot. And that wasn't in the script, but I like made these little choices. And to this day, it's my mother's favorite role I've ever played. And I was like, Jesus. But she came almost every night, like front row center, laughing her ass off because she was like, this character is so real to me. And I was like, okay, well, but I think it's because I slowed down and I said, I want to do this the rest of my life. And I want to make these very intentional character choices. There's no way in hell anyone's going to believe me that I'm 70. But what can I do, you know? And like that rare foresight moment. And so even like when you get those roles for like, if you ever get an audition of like a 40-year-old mom, like what can you do to and that's like sometimes costumes come into play, and sometimes you can make yourself look a little frumpier or, you know, a little whatever, just to like turn the dial a little bit. Cause it's all like dress up in the end, right?
Exactly.
Right. When you kind of like, there's something about getting your hair or wardrobe put together that you're like, I'm different now.
It's
different. I'm not Carolina.
The best. No, I'm not. It's the best. I have to say, I wore, and Liza, I wore almost all the director's wardrobe. Those were like all her clothes.
Love it.
I love
the
it.
Pink puffy jacket.
Yeah. I love also the neck tat, how that actually played in. Because as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh my God, it's ridiculous that I love it. Like,
yep. And then, well,
I need to see this like tonight. I haven't had a chance, but I need to see it like tonight.
We did a neck tattoo, and then the issue was that we had to take it off at that end of that night, and then film scenes without it, and then we had to put it back on. And so my entire neck, it was terrible. It was bad. It was really bad. But
we have a tattoo featured in our film, and like I'm just ready to do like that semi-permanent like thing, so that way I just don't worry about
it. And if it's not crazy,
it's not like crazy.
This took up my entire neck here.
Oh my God! Oh my God! I can't.
She went full.
Oh, I'm so excited to watch. Speaking of which,
me too.
Is this like still private, or is this something that everyone can tap into? Or if not, then when do you think? Or we're just gonna go on this journey and you circle back
of the short?
Yes.
Of when like the our listeners can watch and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's currently we are currently talking to some SVOD platforms, which
SVOD.
Yes, streaming video on demand. And then depending on how that goes, Amaletto's really interested. They've been interested for a while, so it might be up there.
Amazing.
Yes,
right?
Yes. I love that connection just happened. See,
I know.
Patterns.
And then it might be available widespread. And then the big nugget, I can't say too much, but the big thing is we are making it into a feature.
Amazing.
Oh, we are greenlit going forward with it.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
There are lots going on with that, but I can't say too much right now, but
oh my God,
understandable,
so
but that is awesome.
That is so exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. We're super pumped, have an amazing team. So I'm really, really thrilled.
I love we love learning when shorts are able to kind of flourish and grow into a larger project, because a lot of like, you know, first time filmmakers, you want to start with shorts, and that sometimes that's what the best part about putting your time and energy into that is that it can later on still become a larger scale thing. Yeah. So that's really cool to hear. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
Where can our listeners follow you, celebrate you, hopefully not cyber stalk you?
Oh, wow.
If they're in the mood, if you're in the mood.
But if they do, go down that rabbit hole of Danielle Beckmann. No, sure. Yeah. Everything for me is Danielle Beckmann, but it's a double N because it is a German last name, even though I am barely German at all, but that's cool. So DanielleBeckmann.com. DBeck Comedy is me on Twitter. DBeck, DEEBECK is me on Instagram. And then Brooklyn Quarters, my production company. LizaAnonymousFilm.com is where you can watch the trailer and see all the updates. We will be screening at the Lighthouse Film Festival in New Jersey. Yeah, and then eventually, hopefully on a broader platform for you.
Amazing.
And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Find me on the internet, anyone listening. Last time I did a podcast, I also have a coaching company. It's called The Spirited Storyteller, and I coach creatives and artists and actors, and even fashion designers, anyone in the arts.
Love it.
I know. Amazing. But I actually got a client from talking on a podcast. She lives in Australia, and she became a client of mine for 6 months. So I was like, ooh, it does work.
Yeah. Well, putting that out there too, listeners, if you need some coaching in your life.
There you go. You need some creative business coaching. Hey.
Love it.
Call me.
Yeah, call me. I'm not giving out my cell phone, but you can go on my website.
Yeah. Well, Danielle, please keep us updated too. Anything new that I know you have a million projects in the works right now, but anything that we're able to watch or when things come out for our listeners to watch, let us know, because we will definitely promote that. You're part of the Femme now. So.
Yay. Yes. Oh, I'm so happy. I have loved talking with you both. Like, just such like talented, warm, welcoming, bright, shining stars. Like, I'm so glad that we got this introduction.
Me too.
Yes, same. I'm like the synergy. I'm like, okay.
Thanks for listening to Femme Regard Podcast. If you like what you hear, tune in every Friday for more tips on the filmmaking business and insightful conversations with industry professionals.
We can only grow with your support, so please subscribe, share, rate, and review. You can also join the Femme Fam on Patreon. For more on us, check us out at femregard.com.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.